Alright, so another month, another donations and deliveries video. We're going to start this out with some transistors. And don't mind the background noise, that would be Tinkerman Mick on live stream in the background. We've been working together for a long time, so you know, I watch his live streams and they sit in the background. So yeah, if you're into gaming, check out Tinkerman Mick. Anyway, these were listed as a BC 457. They're actually a 547 transistor. Pretty standard 100 milliamp switching transistor. I'd like to have a BC 337 that'll do 800 milliamps, but such is life. They'll be handy. Anyway, let's get on with things. I think the first bunch of clips were from some field days, so I'm going to do them on my lap. So let's go look at that. Now, in amongst another order I've got coming is something that can make use of this. And we're driving at the moment, so this might be bumpy, but I got myself a Chinese reflex sight that may or may not come out of the box while we're driving. Now, these are apparently not too bad. They're not the greatest, but I don't feel like spending $400 on a reflex sight for a $500 22 rifle. So we will see how this goes. I'll do more of a detail. There's a bit of glass cleaner in there. There's a little CR2032 and the actual reflex sight itself in here with a little protector. So that'll be interesting stuff. My apprentice has got some stuff too, but we'll do that in a minute. Alright, some other stuff I got on the way. Snakebite bandage. There's a first aid kit that was already in there. There are some Anderson plugs in here somewhere too. I'll have to find them. So in looking for the two new Anderson plugs I bought, I found one that I bought previously, so I had a spare. Okay, I found some hacksaw blades, the first ones I've bought pretty much ever, and there was two new Anderson plugs here with pins. I mostly needed the shell. This is one that was a shell that came without the pins, so that will fix my other problem. And there's some more bits and pieces laying around too, but we'll talk about them when we get home. Okay, so now we're back home. We can take a closer look at some of the stuff we got. We actually got three snakebite bandages, and these are slightly better than usual ones. And these have instructions on the bandage, and they're quite good. So we've got one for each of the daily driver vehicles and one to teach the kid with on how to do, or at least to practice with, on how to do snakebite bandaging. Useful thing. Although in my entire life I've never been bitten by a snake. They tend to behave fairly well when you're sensible around them, but it is always a risk living where we do. Also, the previously mentioned hacksaw blades, they are Chinese hacksaw blades, but I've been reusing the one hacksaw blade for years and there are many missing teeth. I'd forgotten that I had a spare shell, which will fix my problem. But a couple of spare Andersons will never go astray, and these have some fairly suitably large sized terminals in them. Oh, and this is something my family will pick on me about. I finally got some moccasins. My brother was known for his pink fuzzy slippers. Namely, whenever he'd go to buy moccasins, the only ones he could find that would fit him were pink and fuzzy. So he just embraced it. I found some black ones, and these are Aussie made. By local companies, and they use proper sheepskin, and these are size 14, so they'll be good. I won't see me so many times in bare feet in the videos. Alright, even at size 14 these are still a bit tight on the feet and a little uncomfortable. They will wear in, I guess, but what they do to my toes in the meantime. But they are an option, I guess. Okay, so circling back to the optic that I got. Again, on a $500 firearm for a 22, I figured I wasn't going to spend $450 on an optic when I just wanted something to roughly get me slightly better than the plastic aperture sights that are on it already. So we did put the battery in this on the way home. Let's remove the rubber protective guard here, which is actually not too bad. And we'll turn this into the green section and turn it up to 4, and you might be able to see the dot here. Now with these, one of the main complaints is you're supposed to be able to move off center and not lose your dot. It should stay in the same spot, but that does seem to be doing it fairly well there, but they're just not quite as accurate as some of the others. So it's not too bad. Let's change our camera angle a bit, and we'll line ourselves up on something on the desk here. So let's line up on, say, one of the buttons here. And if we move from side to side, it should keep the dot fairly well on there. But of course, when you're in a cheek mount, you want to be fairly close with your cheek on the butt. I think this will be acceptable enough for like the 50 or 60 yards that I intend to use the rifle. We can scoot round to the red side of things here, and we can use the red light as well, and we get a red crosshair as well. So it's not too bad, and it just stops in that off position there. So I think for the purposes of what I want to use this for, it won't be too bad. My life's not going to depend on this, but certainly my bank balance won't either. So any case, we'll see how this goes. So I will be interested to actually practically use something like this. Alright, so it's a rainy day today, and we're going to do some work on the 8-wheel drive Argo. We have ourselves a little 5-watt panel that I hope I can screw to the bonnet, or the hood, depending on where you come from, to keep the battery topped up, and a little baby solar regulator, just because the battery in it's not huge. If it was a huge battery, we probably wouldn't even need the regulator. I've got some twin core double insulated wire here. We'll try and find a way to hook this up. Yeah, also arrived this month was a lighter socket adapter that supports quick charge and apparently 20 watts. And this ring is a little loose. Not sure if that's meant to be. Price was right anyway. I'm only going to run about half an amp off this to charge my GPS, but nice to have USB-C and quick charge as well. Alright, the deliveries have begun to arrive. There's one just showed up. So, let's see what's in it. And yes, I did a bit of scribbling over it to obscurify the label. This one is probably gun parts. Well, not necessarily exactly gun parts, but gun accessories. Because my gun rack's got a gun rack on it. This looks like to be a little laser dot. Okay. We got batteries with it too. Well, that doesn't really comply with the current packaging requirements for button cell batteries, but I guess this is not intended for use with kids. Sensibly so, I agree. So this is a little Picatinny rail mount laser dot, and it's considerably smaller than previous ones that I've had. I've got another one on one of my 22s, but I have a new Survival 22 coming that calls for a much more compact setup. So I guess that goes in there, and then that goes on here. We'll see. And I've got a couple of screws for attachment and alignment. Let's have a look here. Do we have dot? We don't have dot. I will work on it and see what happens. Like many new things, I have decided to fault find it the second I've got it. So let's go. That should be reverse polarity, but we have 4.8 volts on that. That should be fairly close. Now, this little pad here I had assumed was meant to make contact with the negative terminal, but I think it's actually meant to make contact with the positive. And these are probably also meant to come out of this packet. Although sometimes they do work that way, it's not always the case. So let's knock these out of the packet. Okay, so the giveaway for me that they're supposed to be out of the plastic is there is already a piece of insulating plastic in there. So I guess if they go in that way, we can seat it in that way properly. And drop the rest in that way. We'll find out if the tail cap works. There we go, we have a dot now. I did indeed have the batteries in backwards. So, the way these things work, if you're not familiar, your big Allen key here is for these two to lock it onto the Picatinny rail. And the little one here, you have elevation and windage, or windage, depending on your pronunciation. But this should give us a nice good clean dot, which for a little survival rifle at 30-40 yards should be pretty accurate. We also have a red dot sight which showed up earlier that's going to go on the top as well. dot sight, which you may have already seen, is this one here. So that's going to go on the top for more accurate visual alignment. Anyway, let's move on. One quick flaw I've discovered about these that isn't present on the last one of these I had. You can keep turning this around. That doesn't make that very accurate once you've adjusted your elevation and everything. So I may have to find a way to sit that in more firmly, although, I see what's going on here. That might make sense. I'll put this back together. Okay, so most of these I'm used to are just basically a laser pointer shoved in a little block. This is actually a custom drilled block. Although, to get this to an appropriate torque spec so it doesn't move or rattle around with the shock of a rifle, it ends up at about 45 degrees off center. So that will make calibrating it a little difficult, but I guess once I get it right, it should roughly stay there. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, it's interesting stuff. Alright, we've got some more projects and essential works on the go. So we had a few things arrive. This is a Merit plug. What used to be used for accessory power in vehicles and stuff before lighter sockets became a thing. We have an inline Merit socket. These are considerably more reliable than lighter sockets, and easy to field rewire too. I can probably actually show you that right here. If you have a look here, for these all you need is a Phillips head screwdriver. Quite easy to rewire in the field, and good decent contacts on the things. So that's primarily why I'm using these. They're going to be used for something that might get used in the field. Also, it's worth avoiding going to Bunnings with the Apprentice. We ended up with extra stuff. I've got a split lead, which I think is going to work better than a double adapter. I have a cheap lead to run a 300 watt load. We also have some super long zip ties for zipping super long things, and a power board with switches. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So yeah, let's see what else shows up. Alright, it's a fairly sunny afternoon. I hope you can deal with that. I've been a little bit crook, but a delivery arrived. It's an Italian made piece of equipment. I haven't done much of this in a while. Let's open this up and have a look at what's in here. Now, this is a topic I don't talk about much on this channel, just in large because it polarizes people. Had this on lay-by for quite a while, largely because anytime you get one of these in Australia, you have to get a permit to acquire. This is a nice little survival rifle. It's called a Chiappa Little Badger. It's a single shot. It's a break open. There is a model called a TDX, which actually this stock folds down flatter and these two bits separate, and the whole thing can fit into a piece of pipe. But that is still a pretty compact rifle. It's about 1.3, 1.4 kilos. I've got a couple of little optics, as you will have seen already, to get involved in that. The cleaning rod is probably only good for cleaning the breech. Otherwise, we will probably get a pull through. I'll probably wrap a pull through here or something at some point. But yeah, plastic sights on it, but we will be sorting that out. But I've been wanting one of these for a long time. It is kind of short, but for a 22, not a 22 Magnum, this is just a 22 long rifle. I think it'll do the trick for the occasional bunny and the things that I'm licensed for, like target shooting and stuff like that. I think it'll do just as well. Maybe my apprentice, when she comes of age, might make use of this as well. But anyway, interesting stuff, and we'll have more intro on it later on.